Hiya, right, I'll be looking at day one at the Cheltenham Festival this year. We'll start off with the Supreme Novices Hurdle. The market at the moment is headed by Irving from Paul Nichols, who is 4 from 4 for him so far. Currently 5-2 in the market. I would want to oppose Irving this year purely based on the form that I don't think Cheltenham will suit him very well. There's going to be doubts. He came over from Germany. He ran on the flat there, and there's going to be doubts about him seeing out a strong 2 miles, which I'm sure Ruby Welsh will make it on Vatter. He is my pick at 3-1. He won the Deloitte Novices Hurdle, which Champagne Fever won last year, which is run over 2 miles and 2 furlongs, making it an ideal trial for the Supreme, as obviously you need to have a fair bit of stamina to get up the hill. That's why I'd be picking Vatter over Irving. The third favourite is Wicklow Brave, also trained by Willie Mullins. Showed a good turn of foot last time out, rounding the bend, and was relatively impressive. The fact that Ruby's picked Vatter over him says it all really. I think he'll pop Vatter out in front and try and do exactly what he did last year on Champagne Fever. Next in the market are 2 Henderson horses. You've got Joss's Hill, who won the Tolworth at Kempton, and Vanitor, who won just a normal novices hurdle at Doncaster. They're both 14-1. I think it was a relatively poor Tolworth this year. Royal Boy won it for Henderson, who'll go for the Neptune, but to be honest, I don't think that form is particularly strong. And yes, Vanitor was impressive, but that was just a relatively poor novices hurdle. I think the form lines from Ireland are a lot stronger than what can be offered there. An outsider in the field would be Wild Blue Yonder for Alan King at 25-1. He's fell the last twice, and he probably would have won at the last. With Paddy Power's offer of money back if your horse finishes 2nd, 3rd or 4th, he might be one if you want to try and steal some value. But Vatter at 3-1 would definitely be my pick for Willie Mullins. We're going to go second is the Arkle, currently headed by Champagne Fever, who's looking to win his 3rd festival race in a row after winning the Bumper and the Supreme in the last 2 years. He's currently 3-1, only had 2 runs over fences, and was beaten last time by Defy Logic. For that reason, I couldn't have him. He had a bad mistake 2 out, and well, for only running twice before heading over for the Arkle, I couldn't really back him at 3-1. I'd be much prefer to back Trifolium at 5-1 for Charles Burns. He's won a Grade 1 novices chase over in Ireland, beating Defy Logic, who wasn't right that day, so I wouldn't look too closely at the form with Champagne Fever there. But he also had Felix Younger behind him, who's favourite for the JLT, Mozzeltoff and Ted Veal. So the form lines do stack up there, and that's probably the strongest form on offer. You then have Rock on Ruby at 11-2, obviously previous champion hurdle winner. Only had 2 runs over fences again, and going over fences is really kind of an afterthought after he was smashed by the new one over hurdles at the start of the year. His 2 runs have come to small fields, and I don't think he'll cope with a competitive Arkle this year. Dodging Bullets is next at 6-1. I don't think he'll be good enough at the Cheltenham Festival again. He finished 9th in the Supreme last year, so I couldn't see why he'd get any closer to Champagne Fever. Valdez was relatively impressive at Doncaster last time out, but I don't think his form will be stacking up. Grondouet is next at 12-1, but he has just been awful this year. He might bounce back to form, but I can't see that happening. So yeah, Trifolium at 5-1 would be the pick for me. Then move on to the 3-mile handicap chase. This is where it's quite difficult to know who will run. I think Anacotti and Samwin are both going for the RSA, and the form lines have shut the front door tying quite well with Sam Winner. So if he takes his chance at 14 to 1, I think John Joe O'Neill has declared him for the race. So at least you'll get your money for you'll get a run for your money. We'll then move on to probably the race of the festival, which is the Champion Hurdle. Obviously headed by Hurricane Fly at 5 to 2 this year. Won it in 2011 and won it last year. It's looked better than ever in Ireland this year. He's had more competitive races coming into it than he did the last couple of years, winning the Ryanair Hurdle and the Irish Champion Hurdle, with a couple of his rivals behind him. Ruby Walsh has come out and said that for the last couple of years he probably hasn't seemed his best at Cheltenham because of his rides he's given him. So yeah, we'll see what you can do, Ruby. There's lots of younger horses coming through this year to try and take his crown. Probably the new one is the pick of them, for the Twiston Davis family. He won the Neptune last year, beating Rule the World and Pont Alexander, and has won the International this year and was second to My 10 to Yours at Kempton in the Christmas Hurdle. That definitely would have suited My 10 to Yours that day, as it's a flat track, 2 miles. There's doubts on whether he'll get up the hill in a strongly run Champion Hurdle over 2 miles. Obviously he was done by Champagne Fever last year in the Supreme, and I couldn't have him for that. Tony McCoy's picked My 10 to Yours over Jeski, which says it all. Jeski, yes, will probably handle the hill a bit better after winning the Hatton Grace over 2.5 earlier in the year, but I couldn't have either of them. Archon has been beaten twice by Hurricane Fly this year so far. People say he's got proven Cheltenham form by winning the Triumph Hurdle. Yes, he won by about 15 lengths, but form-wise it's a horrendous race. So I wouldn't look too deeply into that. We then move on to the mare's race, which you only have to look at one horse, which would be Quevega. Hopefully she'll win it for the 6th time. Currently 4 to 6, so not a lot of value, but I can't see any reason to oppose her. You then get the 4 miler, which once again there's quite a lot of horses with multiple entries. Not really many strong candidates that I can see. I'd be tempted on having an each way punt on Just a Par for Paul Nicholls at 20 to 1. He was favourite for the Feltham on Boxing Day, beating odds on by Anacotti that day, but he clearly wasn't right, and Nicholls says to just put a line through that. They think a lot of him at home, and yeah, for 20 to 1, for a horse that chased home Matt Fisher's Cross at Aintree last year over 3 miles, it's probably not a bad bet. The last race of day 1 is a 2.5 mile handicap novices chase. Once again, there's multiple entries in other handicaps, so I wouldn't get too stuck into them. One that has seen support this week would be Pendra, who has been guaranteed to run in this. Went off favourite for the Coral Cup last year, but found the hustle and bustle a bit too much for him at that stage of his career. He's done everything right over fences so far. So yeah, 8 to 1 market leader, but a lot of these will skip it and he can only go down in price. So if we go through it, Supreme would be on Voiture at 3 to 1. The Arkle would be Trifolium at 5 to 1. The 3 mile handicap chase would be Shut the Front Door at 14 to 1. Champion Hurdle, Hurricane Fly at 5 to 2. The mare's race, Quevega at 4 to 6. Just a Par in the 4 miler at 20 to 1, and Pendra at 8 to 1 in the 2.5 mile handicap novices chase. Cheers.